As the kids are going off to class, I'll go ahead and introduce our speaker. Many of you know that our speaker is Bill Butterfield this evening. Bill and Linda used to work here. For those of you that haven't been here a good while, they were here from 66 to 70. And so that's been a little while ago, and some of you remember that. And they have preached a few different places, or Bill's preached a few different places since then. Linda preaches to Bill, though.
Amen.
And anyway, but they preached a few different places here in West Virginia and in Virginia. And I actually had the privilege to live with them one summer and do an internship with them over in St. Mary's. And I think Bill would probably agree it was one of the worst summers of his life.
Amen.
Not because of me, but he had some health scares and ended up having neck surgery, and it was just a rough time. So I've always been able to relate to them what summer that was that I spent with them. And so they have 2 sons and 3 grandchildren. And if you haven't heard Bill in a good while or ever heard him, you're in for a treat. I want to say 2 things about Bill. One is I've always felt when I hear Bill preach that I feel like I'm the only person in the room with him, because he's able to speak right to the heart. And I've always felt that about him. I always appreciated that about him. And I know when I started into preaching that I knew that there were a handful of people that I wanted to emulate and learn things from, and Bill is in that list. And that's why I wanted to do an internship with him, and have admired him for many, many years. And he's going to talk to us tonight about how to be in the world, be relevant in the world, but not of the world, and not live like the world. So that's what he's going to talk to us about. So I'm going to turn things over to him and let him go ahead and speak to us.
Good evening. It's good to be here. It's good to be anywhere. We have some very, very pleasant and loving memories of the 5 years that we spent here back in the late 60s and through 1970. And as I look around the crowd, the audience tonight, there's a lot of faces that are missing. Some that just were always here. Some who were great encouragers, always had some kind word to say, and just was jewels of people. But those 50 years slipped by in a hurry. And here we are now, almost 50 years later. Now, some of you were here when I was here 50 years ago. I want to tell you, you look older. You got wrinkles where you didn't have wrinkles before. You got gray hair where you didn't have gray hair before. Some of you don't have any hair. But it's just been a real pleasure over the last few weeks since Clinton first contacted me about coming up here tonight, just to reminisce periodically about some of the things that happened and the good memories. We became parents here. Our oldest son was born while we were here. That's all a very unique situation, because I knew Linda was a parent before she did. She was out shopping, as a matter of fact, when she became a parent, because Sean was adopted. And while she was out shopping, they called me and said, "Mr. Butterfield, your baby boy's been born." And I was so excited. There I was, up here on the hill, by myself. She was shopping. There's just 2 of us anyway. Nobody else around. And I needed to tell somebody something. So I went out the back door to the parking lot, and Nate Krasinski was walking across the parking lot going to the high school. And I said, "Nate, I got you a quarterback 15 years from now." It was just one of those days. I got to tell you one little thing about Linda and becoming a mother. One of the very first times she went grocery shopping or someplace, Doris Tuttle babysat Sean. She went over to Fairmont, did the grocery shopping and all whatever, came home, put the groceries away, and I don't know exactly how it happened, whether Doris called her or whether I walked in and said, "Where's the baby?" And she went, "Oh!" She had forgot to get the baby up at Doris's. And I think Doris called and said, "You going to come and get this boy or not?" So there have been a lot of good things happen. John Toothman just reminded me a few minutes ago that when we were playing softball with Ryan Wilson, and he hit a line drive, hit Linda right there in the belly. Just knocked her down flat. Good times. Just was a very pleasant 5 years. And we've been forever grateful for the relationships that we've been able to maintain all over those years. When Clinton called me and asked me if I'd talk tonight and assigned the topic about being relevant in today's world, the church being relevant in today's world, I'm not sure exactly when he did call. It was back in early spring sometime. And I got to think about that almost immediately, because I knew what was going to happen this summer. There's going to be an election here in a few weeks. And all summer long we've been bombarded by what this world needs is, and every political creature has a different answer to that question. I don't want to shake your political ivory palaces, but they have no idea. They don't know what the world needs. Because if they knew what the world needs, they would tell folks the world needs Jesus Christ. That's what's missing. It's not something else, some object that you can build or something you can buy or postpone or whatever. It's not that. The world needs Jesus Christ. I don't know. I don't know whether the world needs Christ more than it ever has or not. I know it needs Christ. In my 70 years, it may need him more today than any of the other 70 years. Because folks, the world's in a mess. Morally, spiritually, and so many other ways. The world's in a mess. And something has to be done. The political group are not going to do that. Money's not going to do that. Popularity's not going to do that. Entertainment's not going to do that. If anything is to be done to bring Christ to the world, it's going to mean you and me. I don't say that arrogantly, and it's not exclusive to saying just this number here tonight or just a few handful of people. But if the church doesn't get it done, what's next? To what does God turn? If we reject our responsibilities, where does he turn? I'm not suggesting he can't turn someplace because he's God. He can do whatever he wants to do. But as far as I know, this is his choice. That puts a tremendous responsibility on each of our shoulders. Okay, see, tonight we're going to focus on the church. I'd much rather be talking about Jesus and tell some stories about him. And see some of the things that happened in his life and his ministry that we can emulate. But the title of the sermon was what maintain the church's relevancy in today's world. So I'm talking about you and me. Defining those terms, the church, that's you and me, folks. It's not the other guys. It's not the old folks. It's not the young folks. It's not in between folks. It's all of us. We're the church. And that's our responsibility to maintain what the church ought to be. And that term relevant is kind of interesting. It means pertaining to that which is current right now. Pertinent. There where we live, where we are. How do we stay relevant in that world? We're not talking about how we should have done it 100 years ago. Those 100 years are past. We can't say, well, now in the next 50 years, I don't anticipate having another 50 years. All I have is today. The history of the past is over. I can't repeat the history of the past. I can't undo or do it again. It's gone. I have a hope for the future, but I don't even know whether there will be a future or not. All I have is the present time. Right now, right here, with you and me. So it is today's world. Now what's the next generation going to have to do? I don't know. Well, I think the past generation let us down. That's too bad. That's history. All we got is the here and the now. And the here and the now is you and me. As we sit here tonight, as we assemble on a Sunday, as we fellowship together in some various capacity, we're it. What a responsibility that places on our shoulders. And there are so many churches. I want to be very kind, the best I know how. There's so very many churches that are going through the motion. They're singing the right songs. They're preaching the right sermons. They're praying the right prayers. But that's about all. There's things that we've got to do. There's things that we've got to be saying. There's a difference in the lives of people that we need to be making. Because that's what the church does. The church doesn't just hold services. The church makes a difference in the lives of people. Again, let me repeat. We're talking about the church. We're not talking about Christ's influence in our lives. I'd love to do that. But the topic was, how's the church, how do you and I maintain relevancy in today's world? So I want to go back with you for a few minutes to 1 Corinthians chapter 9. And I want you to hear Paul's words again. You've heard them 1,000 times. But I want you to listen real carefully at what he talks about he's trying to accomplish. No, don't think about how he's trying to accomplish it. Think about what he's trying to accomplish. He says, though I am free and belong to no man, I make myself a slave to everyone to win as many as possible. To the Jews I became like a Jew to win the Jews. To those under the law I became like one under the law, though I myself am not under the law, so as to win those under the law. To those not having the law I became like one not having the law, though I am not free from God's law, but am under Christ's law, so as to win those not having the law. To the weak I became weak, to win the weak. I have become all things to all men, so that by all possible means I might save some. I do all of this for the sake of the gospel, that I may share in its blessings. Do you not know that in a race all the runners run, but only one gets the prize? Run in such a way as to get the prize. Everyone who competes in the games goes into strict training. They do it to get a crown that will not last. We do it to get a crown that will last forever. Therefore, I do not run like a man running aimlessly. I do not fight like a man beating the air. No, I beat my body and make it my slave, so that after I preach to others, I myself will not be disqualified for the prize. If I had not read that passage, and I had asked you, for what are you striving? For you to be able to declare victory someday. For you to say, I win. How would you have answered that question? Oh, Bill, we all want to go to heaven. We want that prize of the greatness of heaven. Sure we do. There's nothing I want more in this world than eternal salvation. I want to be with God so bad, I almost envy those who get to go ahead of me. But listen to Paul. Paul said, I do all these, I become like a Jew, I become like a man under the law, like someone not under the law, to win as many as possible. Not to make my way to heaven, not to get to heaven, not to be saved, but to win as many as possible. And the last part of that, he alludes to the Olympics. Now we know the Olympics are given gold, silver, and bronze medals, right? Not then. Because you know in Athens, Greece, the very first Olympics, they gave one medal to one person. And it wasn't a medal anyway. It was a clover leaf type of thing. A crown to one person, the winner. Nobody else got anything. There was no congratulations. There was no, let's go interview the loser. The winner got the crown. That was it. And Paul says that's what I'm talking about. I want to win as many as possible. If you take that picture of winning, you have a brand new focus in being Christian. That winning means winning as many as possible. Heaven will take care of itself. Eternity will take care of itself. Just being faithful to Him, take care of that. But to win as many as possible. The question really is, how do you do that? How do you win as many as possible? How do you win your family? I venture to say some of you are thinking right now about a family member, maybe members, who are not Christians, who are just making their way through life, maybe working every day, 8 hours a day, raising their family, raising their grandchildren, whatever it might be, and they're good people, they're solid people, but they're not Christians. What are you doing to win them? How about your neighbors? Maybe contrary. May not be easy to get along with. Maybe downright mean. What are you doing to try to win them? How about those total strangers? Those people who are helpless, homeless, and hopeless. I want you to think about those folks. Helpless, homeless, and hopeless. What are you doing to try to win them? Not what everybody else trying to do. Not what is the church someplace doing. I'm talking about Maryville. What are you trying to do? What are you doing to try to win those? Paul, that's what he's doing. That to the Jew he becomes a Jew, to the Gentile becomes a Gentile, to the weak he becomes weak, to the strong he becomes strong. So I do all of that, not for any self-glory. I do all of that to win as many as possible. Oh, he grants the conclusion that he may win some by the end of the chapter. But his goal is not to win some. His goal is to win as many as possible. The total may be just some. So what are we doing? That's staying relevant in today's world. It's not trying to provide entertainment to bring people in through the doors. There's nothing wrong with entertainment. I like to laugh right along with everybody else. I like to sing. I like to hear other people sing. I like to watch movies. I like to do all those kind of things. But is that being relevant in today's world? It's not entertainment. It's not just a whole programs. Said, well, let's start this. If it doesn't work, we'll just start another one and another one and another one and another one. Sometimes we get in an endless process of starting programs and never finishing any of them. Something's wrong with that, folks. Something's wrong with that. So let's talk about it. Let's get down and be totally, frankly honest about being relevant. Let's start where it hurts the worst. Let's talk about worship. Is our worship time relevant? Does it call attention to that which is needed at the moment? Is it pertinent? I didn't say, are we worshiping God faithfully? Not saying, are we worshiping God scripturally? I'm asking, is it relevant? Does every person who walks through those doors on a Sunday morning or a Sunday night or a Wednesday night, gospel meeting or whenever it may be, and they assemble together to sing songs of praise, or they assemble together to pray or hear the Bible taught, do they feel the relevancy of the gospel? Do they feel the relevancy of worshiping? I hear too many folks talk about going to church, and not enough saying, I can't hardly wait to worship. And I'm not just playing semantics with you. I know sometimes we get lazy and careless in our language. But folks, we need to be here to worship. We need to be here to praise the Father in heaven. To open up our hearts and tell Him how marvelous we think He is. Do the songs you sing, are they relevant? Think about it. We don't sing the songs in today's world outside church that were popular 100 years ago. I don't even know what the number one hit was 100 years ago. But whatever it was, we don't sing those songs sitting around a table or sitting around watching TV or doing whatever we do and start humming a song that was popular 100 years ago. We don't do that. Why? Well, it just doesn't mean anything to us. You ever look at the dates on songs we sing? Many of our songs we really, truly love were written during the Depression and during the World Wars. I know we've got wars in this world, and I know there's a lot to be depressed about. But you think about where your mind is. We need people who write songs who can set music to poems and make them relevant. We need preachers who preach relevant sermons. Not about what happened 50 years ago or how it should be 100 years ago, or to use illustrations that are way past, overdue, and forgotten. Most people don't even understand. You know, that's what I found in my 50 years of preaching. Illustrations that I use here in 1965 and 70, they don't mean a thing to people today. Nothing. They don't know what I'm talking about. One of my favorite illustrations years ago and how God takes care of us was Mr. Happy Tooth. How many of you remember Mr. Happy Tooth? Yes, he was about 3 hands. It's a great illustration because Mr. Happy Tooth, he was subject to having get decay. And he knew before the commercial was over that old Mr. Tooth Decay was going to come and jump on him, and give him a good taste of cavity. But you knew what was going to happen. Mr. Tooth Decay was going to jump, and he was going to run bang right into an invisible protective shield. Colgate toothpaste. They don't mean a thing to those who were born after 1960. They never saw that. And so you got to think about all the difference in the world, that this is not the same world it was years ago. When we lived in Abilene back in the 90s, there was a group of people who got mad at one church and decided they were going to go out and start another congregation. They were going to start a 1950s style Church of Christ. Now there's a goal for you. We're going to have a church like the 1950s. The Sunday they started, I drove by where they met, and every one of them were driving nice new cars, going to nice new restaurants, warming their leftovers up on microwaves, watching flat screen TVs. But they're starting a 1950s style church. Relevant? Very few people lived in the 1950s. Those of us living in the 1950s are now 70 years old, and we've already got our mind made up. And it goes right over the heads of those who are younger. They don't even know what you're talking about. Worship. Got to be relevant. And I'm not talking about something new, strange, weird, nothing like that at all. But doing things the way the Bible said do them in the same way that will relate to people today. That's what it is, being pertinent in today's world. I like old stuff. I like an old pair of tennis shoes. I wore tennis shoes up here today. That Linda, I'm sure, would like to burn them if she had a chance. But those tennis shoes, they're so soft, and my toes, there's no shoes. When I put them on, those toes automatically go to those same little slots all the time. And to think about breaking in a new pair, I don't like that idea. But sometime, somewhere along the way, those are going to disappear. And I guess I'll have to break in a new pair. I like to be comfortable. I like to have things like they always are, that the same old way. But it's not pertinent. It's not relevant. And in this being relevant in today's world, to win as many as possible. What about ministry? I'm not talking about preachers, I'm talking about ministries. Things the church gets involved in. There's need to be relevant in ministries. You ever know sometimes we get started into a ministry of some sort, and it's not really working very well. People aren't being won to Christ. We're not winning as many as possible through this ministry, and yet we just keep on plugging away. know what Einstein said? Doing the same thing in the same old way, expecting different results, is insanity. If you do the same things the same old way, you're going to get the same old results. And if it's not working, then stop it. Well, we've done that for 100 years. Forget it. If it's not working, if it's not winning as many as possible, if it's not getting the prize done, if the race is not being run and won, maybe time to change. You may start a new ministry and go down the road, and you say, well, we're really making good time. We're not winning anybody to Christ, but we're making good time. Put the brakes on that rascal and back up and go down another road. Because you can't waste your time in a ministry that doesn't help the homeless, the helpless, the hopeless, the depressed, the weary. Should we go and look at a list of people? This world's full of those folks. You can't go up and down the street to Berryville without finding folks who are in that category. They don't have a home, and I don't mean they're living out underneath a tree someplace. They don't have a church home. They don't have a family. They have no spiritual family. They're homeless. And they have no hope. They're without God, without Christ in this world, or the world to come. And they have no idea what to do about it. They're helpless. So what do we do? I didn't notice whether you had a sign out in the front yard or not. If so, then sorry. But if we put a sign in the front yard, welcome, everybody, welcome, come on in. How's that working? When I lived here 50 years ago, over that front doors out there, on the inside, it wasn't where the people outside could see it, but on the inside, where you all saw it, where I saw it every day when I came down to the study or came here to preach or whatever it might have been, you are now entering the mission field. You see, it's not our job to invite them to come on in. It's our job to go out and find them. Well, I just don't know anybody that's really interested, and create some interest. To the Jew, become a Jew. To the weak, become weak. To the strong, become strong. Just like Paul said, to win as many as possible. They're not going to, I'm telling you, they're not breaking down our doors to get inside. Or you don't want to hear that, but that's not happening. Oh, once in a while, one or two a year might show up, but it's not happening. And it was intended to be that way. Go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature, right? Go, 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 go. Go teach all nations. Once they set up a time for lunch and say, come on in. I'm just being honest with you. If I get underneath your skin, that's okay. I want you to see the truth. I want you to see what Paul and others are talking about in the New Testament, of how they do what they can do to win some. Don't ever turn down anybody. Because you never know just what's in that person's heart. Linda and I have a friend down in Williamsburg, Virginia. Cindy is the hardest woman I ever met. I mean, she has done everything in the book except kill somebody. And I'm sure she would have done that if she had a chance. She has a rap sheet that I saw it. It's about an inch thick. I mean, she's done it all and been arrested for it. It's so easy to look at her and say, not a chance in the world this woman wants to hear about the gospel. No chance in the world of that. But she's a Christian. I hear from her about every week. Saying, oh, I miss you guys, and I hope you get to come down and see us sometime soon, and on and on and on. If you'd asked Cindy 5 years ago if she'd ever been a friend to a preacher, she just laughed in your face. But somebody saw beyond the hard exterior to somebody who was hurting, who needed to be loved, and needed to be treated honestly. And the world is full of Cindys. They are. Little country church where we're preaching right now, Pennsville, Ohio, we have 40 people. This past Sunday, there were 3 adults there who fit that category. They just showed up and started coming. But they know they're going to be loved. Not for what they've done, but what they could do. Ministry. What's your daily life? Is your daily life relevant? You go to bed at night and say, boy, I can't wait to get up in the morning and get back at it. Or you say, oh, finally, get rid of this day and go to bed and go to sleep. Why not make every single day of your life an adventure for Christ? Looking for these people, trying to find these people, and trying to encourage these people, and trying to be what God wants us to be. You want an interesting Bible study on your own sometime? Get a good concordance and look up the word daily. And see how many times you see the word daily being used to describe the early Christians. Daily ministration to the widows. Pick up your cross daily and follow me. Exhort one another daily as you see the day approaching. Daily, 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 daily. It's not a Sunday thing. It's not a Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night thing. It's a daily way of living. If we're going to be relevant. And we don't care about being relevant. We don't care about being pertinent in today's world, then you don't have to do that. But to win as many as possible, you have to. And God can take your life, as humdrum as it may be, and He can turn it into a mighty adventure. An exciting time. Now, in 2004, we lived down in Williamsburg. We had a visiting guest speaker come in and talk to us a while. And he said, I want to ask you a question. How many of you have any conversion stories? Stories that you can say, well, I met this person, and this happened, and that happened, and the other thing happened, and now that person's a faithful. How many conversion stories do you have? How many people are looking to you and saying, thank God for you, that you taught me the truth, and you've encouraged me, and you've blessed me, and now I'm a faithful child of God on the way to heaven? Have any conversion stories? God can take your life and make it full of adventure if you let Him on a daily basis. Where do you get the idea? That to be relevant means you and I are going to take a real close, hard look at our lives, at our church, at how we do things, what we say, how we say them. We have a great message. It's the only message of hope that the world has. We've got to get it off of those pages, put it into our hands and our feet and our mouth to win as many as possible. It'll never happen. You can carry your Bible around with you under your arm from now on till the day the Lord comes back. It'll never win anybody. We take it off the pages and put it into your life, into the church, and get dead serious about it. great, great things can happen. We will become relevant. We will become pertinent. We will win as many as possible. Okay? I don't know what Clinton had. He didn't tell me what to say. He just told me, here's your title. That's where my mind went almost immediately. And I can't get it away from that yet tonight. Appreciate being here. We're just going to kill a moment till all the kids get out here and have our invitation song. I believe it's number 800, right? And